Welcome to the NWI.com Political Roundtable for Thursday, June 26th. I'm Robert Blaskowitz, Assistant Managing Editor of The Times. Joined with me today, Doug Ross, Editorial Page Editor of The Times, and Times Assistant Managing Editor, Krista Zavanovic. Boy, we have huge news this week. First of all, the big ruling yesterday on Wednesday, federal judge struck down Indiana's ban on gay marriage as unconstitutional. That sparked a flurry of activity in county clerk's offices around the state, including in Lake and Porter County, where same-sex couples got their marriage licenses and got married. What do you see as the political fallout? What's the next step? We're kind of in a limbo right now where they're issuing marriage licenses, but the state has Attorney General's office is asking for a stay while they appeal. Where does this go?
Well, they asked Judge Young to stay the decision, and he is due to, legal experts think he's going to decide it within a week. So we'll know in a couple of days after the end of this week, probably early next week. Some people are saying he is not going to do the stay because he ruled that he thinks it's unconstitutional based on the U.S. Constitution's Equal Protection Clause, and so it renders it moot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the question, because if he issues a stay, then what's the legal status of people who already have been married? What about the people who, are getting a license and then, they won't have been married yet? What do they do with their license?
And we have the Munster couple who were involved in the lawsuit who, unfortunately, the one partner has cancer, terminal cancer, and so this is an issue of, providing for the children and
they don't have time to wait for the stay and an appeal and the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court to finally judge. Yes.
Well, and that's an estate planning issue too. I mean, so when
they
we
have
talk
a
about
1-year-old and a 3-year-old child, exactly.
When we're talking about the implications of the state, we're talking about literally hundreds and hundreds of implications of this. That means everything from taxes to estate planning to
child support if they get divorced.
Exactly.
And I thought it was very interesting. We did not plan this when we went to take photographs at the Lake and Porter County clerk's offices. Both the first couples there, the couple in Lake wanted to get married and did, and the couple in Porter wanted to get their license to be married elsewhere. They both brought their child with them. So gay people are getting married because they want to raise families. They're actually, interestingly, a lot of them very traditional minded, and that's why they want to be married, so they can offer protections to their family members and children.
Yeah.
There were two key things that I saw in Judge Young's ruling. I read the 30-some pages, however it was, and the two things that I thought were interesting is, one, he was saying, in some years from now in the future, you will not call them same-sex marriages. They'll just be marriages because you'll consider it normal. That's, with all of these decisions, they're all falling the same way. So you can see where that's headed. And the other thing is he made a point to say that nowhere have the defendants, and we're talking Karen Martin, the Porter County clerk, Mike Brown, the Lake County clerk, all of these people who were defendants, none of them made a case for how heterosexual marriages are affected by gay marriages. So he said, there's no impact, you haven't shown it, so at least. So therefore, boom, you're out.
Right, and I think he called it remarkable how all the cases have kind of fallen in line with the rulings on the side of same-sex marriage. And it's the toothpaste is out of the tube. You can't get it back in, I think, and that's where we're at the point of, and eventually you're going to have a final ruling by the Supreme Court, which I expect would be on the side of allowing same-sex marriage, and it will be over and done with.
And I think what was really hugely interesting was that not only did you see the Indiana ruling yesterday, but you saw the Utah ruling as well.
Good
so you've
point.
got two deeply religious states, and they're among, quasi among the first to have same-sex marriages be legalized.
Right. And I saw Megan Robertson, the Portage native, who's the Republican who has worked to fight the ban on same-sex marriage, tweeted out, "It's time to get this out of our platform so that we're not taking hits
well,
for it."
Yeah, and the other thing is, look how close we came to having a vote on this in November that would have been moved.
To put it in our Constitution.
Yeah, and then we would have had to go through all of this again, I think, to amend the Constitution to take it out.
Yeah.
So,
to have it ruled unconstitutional.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Jumping off, and that's such a deep topic, we could talk about it for an hour, but I wanted to jump to a couple more topics that are very much in the news. One is the air show. All the rain we've had has basically sunk the air. Strange that the air show is grounded by wet weather, but it was because basically it has washed out the parking areas that were planned. The show was moving from Gary to Fair Oaks Farms, and now it's basically kaput.
Well, and it's just very, very wet. There was a lot of political implications about the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority, which now represents that county as well, and not just Lake County. So that moving the show there was the issue of it's too close to Chicago flight patterns and all of these things. But then there are the people, you're taking away our air show, which wasn't held last year anyway, and so now. How are those people going to see it? Are they going to see it as divine retribution for moving it? I guess that remains to be seen. But the big question is, what will happen next year to prepare for it?
Right, and I have no insight or ideas into that. I think Mayor McDermott might try and somehow get it back to Hammond, figure out a way to work with the FAA and the federal government to have it in Hammond. He wants to, he's willing to, so this buys him some time to figure out a way to do that. We'll see.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, and then over in Porter County, we had on Tuesday an agreement came down between the county and the hospital, Porter Regional Hospital, in their battle over property tax assessments and the value of the hospital. And like any compromise, neither side got exactly what they wanted. It was somewhere in the middle.
Well, that was a fun one to watch because, of course, being a private company operating the hospital, they wanted their assessment as low as possible. But on the other hand, they got a 10-year tax break that was contingent on building, this big, fancy, expensive hospital. And so, there was this huge battle over what is the actual value of the hospital. So they settled on $130 million. That lets them keep their 10-year tax abatement. So the companies, if mollified, if not happy, and that gets the revenue going for Porter County, and I think for everybody, it stops the legal bills that were going to be really huge in this if they kept fighting it. So it's a good settlement.
Right, and it's just another more evidence of the assessor there, John Snyder, really kind of looking out for the general taxpayer, not just because he wants everyone to pay their fair share, so that the tax burden is spread evenly and fairly across the board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have. We thank you for watching. We'll be back next week with another Political Roundtable.